Hello and welcome to to What Else Is On the Else Nerds Network, where we talk about TV and movies that we watched in the past week. I am Gregor Sprague, joined by Corey Scott. Corey, how you doing, sir?
I'm a little sickly, but I'm gonna make it. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and I instinctively went after the Spider-Man cup when, hey, I have my fourth and final Mountain Dew that I'm gonna
Ooh.
drink.
Hey, am I not seeing us on the Else Nerds YouTube page for a reason, or is that just something that's changed
We
up?
should be there. Um, we should. Let me go check it. We should be on the YouTube page. Um,
That's
unless
probably
I,
something that can wait for another time.
unless I check. But so real quickly, because of um, scientific reasons, um, no, we're there.
Okay.
Um, it just took a little bit. Like we're streaming live on there,
All right. Good.
but
Good. Oh yeah, there we go.
because we sort of skipped it last week because of the fact um, that there was nothing really important. Well, no, not that it wasn't important, but it was the traditional clip show episode of Big
Big
Brother.
Brother. Yes, yes, it
Yes.
was. And the clip show episodes are sort of like a necessary demon for the show. I guess they want to try to like line the dates up so that they have their usual Wednesday/Thursday night people for the live stuff and everything. So when they give you something in that midweek after that last final eviction, they have to give you like the Joey flashback episodes of Friends where he's talking about all the things that have happened in times when he went on his different adventures and things. It's like that. It's a little weird. It's a little kind of like you don't get much out of it except to kind of relive the season and go, oh yeah, I remember that person. Wow, they went out really quick. Oh well, the finale though completely different.
Yeah, and but I mean here. So we skipped it last week because while there was some of the new footage that they showed us that is new for us, um, but not new if you checked the live feeds. If you watch the live feeds religiously, like we know that some of the Big Brother obsessives did. Um, but so this week it was interesting. Or this past week was interesting. To sum it up really quickly, the because basically they do the clip show. Oh hey, remember this moment? Remember that moment? Remember this moment? Oh yeah, this is interesting. And Victoria like, hey, you know how I'm the last girl here and how I didn't float, even though she totally floated. And it's just so hilarious. Um,
Yeah, the amount of times that they've shown Victoria saying, I've made it this far and I'm going to keep going and all that stuff, and then they show the scenes of her just massively failing all of the competitions in every way, shape, and form. And every time she gets in a competition and she gets part way into it and she's like, I'm over it. It's like, yeah, we're over you too. But
yes. And
who could see that she was going to come out on top and win this whole thing? That was amazing. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, but no. In all seriousness, and again, I think you might have even called it here where, and it was so obvious where they did the whole on the where Frankie does the whole, oh, I'm gonna try to sabotage um Derek's gameplay when really, I mean, come on, dude. We all knew that Derek was gonna win this. Derek had the most solid gameplay out there with and he because he had the best social game out there
He had the
in the
best social
house.
game. He plotted really well. He wasn't so manipulative that he was just evil, but he did get people to see his way, and I think somebody said it during the thing when the Dr. Will was interviewing everybody. You almost feel bad that he got you out.
Hmm.
That it was somehow your bad and you feel bad for him that he's got the guilt from it or something. It was just really weird because he didn't play people, and I kind of got a little offended because Jocasta made a couple comments about him fake praying with her, and I just don't see that as something that he did. And someone else
No.
tried to imply, did you use your family to get further in this game? And I don't think he did that either. I think he had a lot of integrity in the game, but I think he had integrity while playing the Big Brother game, which was, you do have to make some backroom deals. You do have to turn on people when they've taken you as far as they can. But I don't think he did ever anything that was just an out and right jerkish thing to do. We've seen people do some dark stuff on this show. We've seen people be some really abusive, terrible people on this show. The season wasn't really like that. There were definitely some moments of weirdness, some scariness, some people kind of flipping out in their heads a little bit. I kept hoping that there would be some sort of mention of Caleb and Amber during the finale, but they just kind of let that one slip by.
Oh,
But overall, I mean, I think that the people who played the game all had integrity while playing it from the beginning. I don't think there was anybody who was just out and out like, I'm going to screw everybody over. Zach did his biggest chances at trying to play a villain, but was never really villainous. He was a
yeah.
jerk a couple of times, and he was loud and obnoxious, but he wasn't really vile. We've had Evil Dick.
No, the closest I think to it was, I think, Frankie, and it was at the end when he came out, when he left.
Yeah, when he basically
And,
said, I'm going to turn the people against you. Just
yeah,
keep that in mind
but
if you
it was
invest me.
yeah, and it was basically wham wham, baby wants his bottle.
But that was a desperation play.
Yeah.
And I think that Frankie had said from the beginning that he was going to be giving the winnings to charity and stuff. I don't know if that was. I'll take him at his word, and I don't know if it was even intended that it was going to be all charity or not. But Frankie's taken care of in life. He's doing fine, both on his own and with his sister being, the huge pop star that she is. But I think at that moment of, you guys are really going to get rid of me, it was that, how do I cut into you to make you not do that? And maybe he meant it in the moment. He probably did. But he didn't act that way in the end. He voted for Derek because he knew that Derek had the best gameplay. I think that's what most of the people did. There were only two people who voted for Cody. And it wasn't that Cody was someone that they didn't like either. It was just that when it came down to it, they looked at the value of how people play the game, and they gave the credit where it was due. And it was totally due there.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
also surprised that they didn't reveal that he was a cop until after they voted, because I thought that would have been a great way to say, and hey, this is how I beat all you all, and how I came in here. And when they showed the scene of his audition tape, where he's saying that he would never tell everybody that he was an undercover cop, and he probably wouldn't tell them he was a cop either, it was like, that was really cool, because it just kind of showed from the very beginning how much he planned and plotted and how much he deserved it.
Oh yeah, because here, I mean, you have these people all the time who come in and say, "Oh, I'm this, but I'm not going to tell anyone."
Right.
Until it bites them in the butt, and then they're like, "Oh, well, guess what, guys? I'm this. Like, I'm a professor of law or whatever," and they're the one who goes out next week. And Derek's the one who's like, "Yeah, I'm an undercover cop, or I'm a cop, a sergeant who's done undercover work for 3 years," or as we've jokingly said, Glenn's doppelganger, Glenn Rubenstein's doppelganger, and
I gotta admit, I gotta say, first of all, Glenn denies that because he looks more like the guy from the Mighty Ducks, and I agree. There are definitely similarities, but it got to be to the point where by the end of the season, I kind of forgot what Glenn looked like, and I felt really bad about that. So
yeah.
I started looking on things. I'm like, okay, there's Glenn. Okay, now I remember what Glenn looks like again.
Well, I mean, it's it's got to, and I did too, to be honest. And I'm like, all right, we need to invite Glenn on
We
and
need
be
more
like,
Glenn in our lives, is what we're saying.
yeah. And it's like, and just go, so what are you going to do with that $500,000? Oh, wait, sorry, you're not Derek. But, I mean, he played probably the best game out of everyone.
I think he's played the best game out of all seasons. I
Yeah.
would put him. Again, I don't really have a lot of respect for Dan Giesling's gameplay. I thought he was weak
Dan
sauce. I
plays
didn't.
Dan plays it too aggressive.
Well, not only does he play it aggressive, I never really got why people fell for his crap. Even when they knew what he was like and stuff, they would still buy into it, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't get it. He just seems so obvious to me in everything that he says and does. But you look at a Dr. Will, you look at some of the other big players that have been in the house, and some of the big players weren't even necessarily winners. Like I go back to Kaiser very early in the seasons with Janelle and Howie and that team up. But I've always been a Kaiser fan. But I think that Derek really knew what to do, how to plan, how to make things work for him. Still kept integrity, still was a good guy, and just overall, played the game better than anyone that I've seen. And from the very beginning of the season, I was like, this is going to be his game. He's the most likely to win this. There are people that you liked and people that you wanted to win. Donnie definitely deserved to be in a top spot. Was glad that he won America's Player. Nicole fell for Nicole really hard. I thought she was just fantastic. But it really seemed like once the public perception of Frankie went from having his big fan base to going, oh wait, Frankie just kind of doesn't give a crap about the people in the house, and he's very all Frankie all the time. Maybe we don't keep giving him our votes. It seemed more likely that somebody was going to win that was not that.
And that quickly changed once with the Americas or Team America, where he's like he's to use a British euphemism where he's basically like, okay, whatever you wankers, with the whole play thing, and it all fell through.
Yeah, basically he just yelled at the cameras and said, look, if they don't like us because we're not going to help Donnie stay, and then that's fine. That's up to them to deal with it. We're Team America. That's just how it is. And it's like, oh, Frankie, well, apparently, no, that really pissed people off because you didn't win that week. We denied you your cash, and people wanted Donnie over you. And nothing against Frankie in the real world. I always say there's a different person in a Big Brother house than just from outside of the Big Brother house. And I'm sure Frankie's a really good person. There was a lot of great moments with him, especially stuff with him and Zach. I really loved the guys this season. I'm not usually like on the guys' side and stuff, but the guys this season were just so funny overall. Like Caleb and his Judy chops, and Cody and everybody crying and hugging, and just like the bromances across the board. I just had a real blast with the whole cast this season.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. But no, and it's like, congratulations, Derek. You did deserve it, and I definitely do think the next time they do an all-star season, Derek deserves to be in there. Just with how he played. He deserves to be in there.
I don't know if he would come back. One, because he wouldn't be able to pull that trick on people again of who he is, and two, I mean, he's already given up so many months of his life away from his daughter and his wife and his job to be in there one time. To go back in again, it's kind of like one of those things where I won $500,000. Maybe I just enjoy the fact that I won and go on.
Oh yeah,
that's a pretty big prize, anyways. Plus the extra money that he won for being Team America.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing though, is I don't know necessarily if anyone else in there, maybe Donnie, would necessarily be an all-star.
Donnie could definitely come back. I think Nicole could come back. I think Zach could come back. You talk about
Yeah.
the three people who were voted the most likely to win out of America's Favorite. Those were the top three. I was surprised that Zach was in the top three, but I was also really excited. I'm like, well, that's cool, and it was mostly because frankly, he was a shit starter, but people like that, and I think he was funny. I think he had a real good charm and wit to him.
Hmm.
I would be okay with him coming back again. He's not Rachel Riley in any regards. He's something else. He's something all his own.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so here, let's move on. I want to touch really quickly on Doctor Who. I know you did not see this episode of Doctor Who. And I will say that this is a really good episode of Doctor Who. I enjoyed it. And I feel like this is just how I say it about everything that I watch.
You do enjoy things. You do seem to
Yes.
enjoy things.
Um, but the episode is called The Caretaker, and basically the preview that you saw last week was the intro to this week. So that was like basically the first, like you that was
The opening scene to kind of it sets the groundwork for what the episode is about.
it's the opening scene, and then the and then that
Right.
sort of deal. And they're all in Coal Hill Secondary School throughout the whole episode, and it's the Doctor getting to know Clara better, and Mr. Pink, who he calls PE, because he thinks he's a PE teacher, because
Okay.
he knows that he was a soldier. And so he's like, "What are you doing, PE?" And all this. It's like, "I teach maths." It's just hilarious. And so they find out about each other, and so you see this conflict, and it's just brilliant. And you see the stubbornness of the Doctor and Capaldi, and Capaldi's version of the Doctor, and I'm just like, "Ooh, child." Yeah, like, and I'm thoroughly enjoying um just how different this take is and where we're going in this ride here. Um, but yeah, it was a great episode. I don't want to say too much as to spoil it for you. As opposed to normally when we like you see it and then we spoil it for everyone.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah,
That's sort of our job. And by job, I mean something that we just show up and do every week.
yeah.
Um, and I'm not worried about being spoiled or anything by it either. It's just the I've said back and forth. The Capaldi season so far has been unusual, but I don't have a lot to compare it to other than the Smith
It's
episodes.
well,
Um,
it is unusual in the fact that, I mean, especially when we went from Eccleston to Tennant, you didn't have this arch of like 3 episodes until like he found his own sort of deal.
right.
Like it was just one episode of like where he was sleeping the whole episode, and then it's like, okay, he's awesome. Like David Tennant was just like awesome and sort of deal. But it was like these 3 episodes of, for me, awesome, but in this weird, awkward sort of way
Yeah,
that
and
it was like sort of homage to the previous cycle of Doctors. That it's almost like we're doing something here that we're not supposed to do. That we're like, because like the Doctor, he's not supposed to be going into this cycle, into this new cycle of generations, because it's like the 14th regeneration or regeneration, and so like we're breaking new ground. So I think that's what sort of why we had this weirdness, like where we had him doing Judy chops, John Pertwee's doctor, and him talking a little bit like Matt Smith's doctor, and doing all these other things that were like older versions, and so that left a little bit of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But here, I was enjoying it, as a fan.
And you're definitely, more in tune with the Doctor Who stuff and everything. So I bow to you on your opinions on it. And it doesn't matter, because that's the nice thing about the Doctor is it's like the weather in Michigan. If you don't like it, wait a couple of seasons, it'll change.
Yeah, wait 5 seconds, it'll be something different.
You'll get something new. So the fact is that I don't know what to expect out of Capaldi's Doctor. I don't know what to expect out of a different Doctor in general. So what they're revealing to us over time, as long as it's consistent, as long as it comes together in some way. And Beatmaster mentioned in the chat, Jenna is awesome, no question, and that absolutely is true, is that this has been more a show about her since the new season began than it has been about him. And I think that that's probably good. That's a good thing to have, since she was our line to the previous Doctor. And in the previous Doctor episodes that she was in with Smith, it didn't feel like she was developed well. There were some really great episodes.
She wasn't at all.
The first episode she was in, where she was when they were fighting the Daleks, she was excellent in. There were a couple episodes that she was really good in, but then a lot of the stuff, it was just sort of she was hanging around. And so this is the complete opposite of that. This is making it seem like her character is far more important, and I appreciate them doing that, because otherwise it was like, well, why does the Doctor even need a companion if they aren't bringing anything to it? Now it's like, sometimes I feel like, why do we need a Doctor? I kind of like the stuff with her a little bit more. I would like to see her team up with the other three characters who were in the first episode of the season. I never remember their names, but I really like them.
Vastra and Jenny.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I'd like to see more of them with her.
Yeah, it is interesting though to think about this, because you have almost two different versions of Clara. You have the Impossible Girl with the 11th Doctor with Matt Smith, where she's basically tied up in the Doctor's timeline, is the best way that I can explain it. Where she's a Dalek in the first appearance, essentially, as Souffle Girl, and then she's a governess in Victorian England, and then she's in the modern day England as the companion, essentially, but we don't really know why. And then eventually, oh, she's a teacher now, but like from the 50th anniversary on, but we don't really get this explanation as to how we get this jump. It's just, all right, here we go, and and it's just like, okay, here we like it was just sort of like she was the plot device in a way. Like there was that one animated, or not animated, but that one short film done by Red Giant called Plot Device, where it was literally just like a panic button that where they would press it and it would advance the movie or advance the short film into something different, and it was literally just made to show off Red Giant's new bundle that they had come out with. And it's a great video. It's out on YouTube. You have to search for it. Just search Red Giant Plot Device. And that's what Clara was her last season with Matt Smith. is she was just like, oh, we need something to go on here. Let's make Clara that. Is almost like what it was.
Yeah, she had an amorphous character before, and now the show is really more about her character, very set in building who she is and her interpersonal relationships with other people and stuff. Which they did a little bit with the episode where it was her and the two kids that she was kind of caretaking for. I think that might be the turning point when they started to make her the caretaker. That seems to be her call out this season, whereas before her call out was the Impossible Girl or Souffle Girl. Now she's the caretaker. That's what she's sort of being named after and looked at for the period.
Her carer.
Yeah.
He's her carer as opposed to the Impossible Girl.
Right.
Sort of. Yeah, but I don't know, it's like I did enjoy the season where it was, but it sort of sheds a light on shed a light on the things where it's like, yeah, she was just sort of along for the ride. You never sort of realized, oh, hey, why didn't you? Moffat does this thing where you sort of get slapped in the face and realize, did I just get slapped? You know, like when he does sci-fi, like he's a magician at times. Like you're just like, did I just get smacked? What happened here? And then you watch it again and you're like, oh yeah, there's the smack. If you watch, the bullet comes here, and sort of deal. Like you're watching the Zapruder films.
This metaphor is getting a lot more painful. I don't really know what to say to that.
We should go somewhere else with this.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, it's because I've done this before, and then I'm like from watching the older, like from rewatching the Matt Smith stuff, I'm like, holy cow, he plans this way in advance, like with like the silence and the cracks in the wall, and I'm like, does he have like this, like, to tie in with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's a segue here. Does he have like this weird like Phil Coulson thing where he has like all these like strange circles in this one room, and his wife's like, honey, what's wrong? Oh, nothing, this is just Doctor Who. This is the course up for the next 5 years.
Yeah, it's like a whiteboard or a corkboard with a bunch of 3x5 cards on it. That's every writer's room. That's why I'm so fascinated with writers' rooms. Yeah, so speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's a show.
Sorry. Yeah, that's a show. Sorry, I had a message because of the college group, and they were like, oh, hey, yes, let's do this, because October is Pastor's Appreciation Month. They're like, we're going to surprise our youth pastor. Hey, he doesn't watch the show, so that doesn't matter.
Okay, that's good.
I've told him numerous times, hey, you could plug, because he plugs one of the other kids, because he does this funny YouTube videos about sports and stuff. I'm like, you could plug mine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you don't do stuff that interests me. I'm like, thanks. Thanks for supporting me there, PB. Yeah. But no, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they had their second season premiere. And oh my goodness, I actually watched this twice because after doing the Sci-Fi Geeks Club on the Galactic Netcasts. And I realized I don't really like watching the ABC app on Apple TV because it actually is darker. Like, not like the tone, but like it's physically darker watching it on there than watching it on my TV, like regularly through Comcast. And I'm like, that's weird. I feel like I should do some color correction or something. Because the TV's actually over here. But anyways, I did actually, and I missed it, but there's like little Easter eggs. I don't know if we should cover the Easter egg thing on here. That I don't know if you happened as well, but and I'm not talking about the Haley Atwell, Agent Carter thing.
Which was great, by the way.
Yeah, which was
more looking forward to that show as it was, and I expected to, but I think I mentioned on Sci-Fi Geeks Club when Dum Dum Dugan comes out, I was just, man, that guy is great. That guy is so cool.
It shows the range that he has, because we talked about him in the summer as the villain on Suits.
Yep. And he's usually a villain.
Yeah. And he's usually a villain, and it's like, hey, he's a hero on here. And it's like,
Walking Tall, that Street Fighter Chun-Li movie that nobody should ever watch, ever. All the different
Even
things.
They play it like 50 million times on TV.
Yeah, oh God. But he's so good, and he's so perfect as Dum Dum, and that's a character that I just was so geeked out when I saw him show up in Captain America, and to see him get to wind up on here, and hopefully he'll be, you know, at least in some episodes of the Agent Carter series when it comes out. But I'm really looking forward to that show, and it's also it's the first real, you know, female-led program or thing that they've done so far. And they'll be getting to Jessica Jones at some point too, but there's this complaint that the female heroes haven't had their own movies or anything yet for Marvel, and I think this is sort of a dipping the toe, working their way up to a kind of thing.
Yeah.
I read a really good interview today with Jeremy Renner, where he's talking about how much having strong female roles is important to him, and how he would like to see a Black Widow movie come out. And he's like, yeah, and I'd be in it. That's fine. But he's like, you know, it's important to him too that happens. And I think it's one of the reasons why I really like Jeremy Renner. But this looks so good, and it seems like having this kind of crossover at the beginning of the season is just whetting the appetite for when it's going to come up. But then the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show has a lot of strong female characters too, and they've definitely become more dominant of the show now that Skye has become more ingrained into S.H.I.E.L.D. She's not the outsider as much anymore. She's basically like May Jr.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's and also I heard somewhere, like I just saw the thing that there was talks of doing and I don't know how far the talks went, but of doing a Black Widow movie 4 years before an Iron Man movie.
Yes, but that was with a different company. It wouldn't have been through Marvel Studios at that point.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like we might have dodged a bullet, because it's probably closer to around the time of Elektra coming out.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. And it's like, all right.
Which is still better than Catwoman.
Yeah. But still, and it's like, but still, here with the, but still, with this episode with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., really good episode. I really enjoyed this episode thoroughly. And I actually went online, I'm like, because I remember Brad saying that he spotted it right away, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, you must have eagle eyes. Like, you literally must have these freaking eagle eyes if you spot it. Because actually, I think I went on, like, Blaster.com or something, where they're like, oh, hey, here's the Easter egg. And it's in that scene that, and...
The Agent Carter scene?
Yeah, it's in the Agent Carter scene, and I don't think it's Kree, but it's tied in with season 1. It's the Blue Man, the blue dude that revived Skye
Coulson.
and Coulson.
Right.
When Dum Dum lifts up the crate, and like they show like glowing, the blue dude is in there.
Yes, so apparently that whole group in Vegas is missing a drummer, and
yeah, and so he's in 1944 Hydra base in Berlin or in Germany.
I'm just saying, I could definitely see like a bunch of the people from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. all of a sudden pulling out a bunch of big pipes and start playing percussion on it. It seems that's sort of where Fitz is at this point in the show too.
Yeah. Okay. Because when they were talking about that on not South Vegas Club, but the show before, Alien Invasion. Is that the one that on?
Yes, the Alien Invasion podcast.
Alien Invasion podcast. I just have to in the question about the feels because, oh my gosh, I did not see that kick to the gut coming with the end there with Fitz. Um, like, just like the camera movement where it goes into real life and then they cut it through the wall to the camera and it's like he's gone insane and I'm like, no, why?
And that Simmons isn't even there, and that was a big
That's
deal. And that's one of those things that I kind of wanted to go back and watch the episode again just to see those scenes again, knowing that she wasn't there. I had almost, before that was even really pronounced, I was starting to wonder if maybe Fitz wasn't actually there, because Simmons was the one who came back and said that he was okay or he'd survived and everything. But I was like, well, what if he didn't? What if that's just her wishful thinking? But they reversed it on us, which is fine. Also seems very Whedonish. It seems like I've seen that kind of thing on Buffy and stuff before. It doesn't feel outside the box for things that I'm used to. So the reveal was important, but
you just want to go Whedon.
I've been taken down this road before, Joss. That's the problem with being a longtime fan. Is you start to pick up these little bits and pieces here and there. Overall, though, the rest of the episode, I was excited that Lucy Lawless was part of the show. I was disappointed at the end where things finished up.
Yes, I was too, with the fact that here she, like, because here they're like, oh, Lucy Lawless is going to be in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Parentheses, or whatever these are, for one episode. But I did like the shot of the Absorbing Man holding the chain and ball. Because that was like
cool.
Iconic Absorbing Man. And I'm like, okay, that's where I think we got into the nerd argument of like, who would you be? And I'm like, dude, come on, Absorbing Man, hello. Like, where you guys are like, where you and on the Sci-Fi Geek Club, you and Brad are like, yeah, I'll be Metal Man. And I'm like, hello, Absorbing Man. Then I could be Metal Man, and I could be Rubber Man, and I could be any man I want. Duh, no brainer.
Yeah, you could be no brainer man because he's not exactly bright. But be that as it may, it was very cool to see not only a superpowered thing that they were fighting, but a recognizable superpowered guy, something from the comics, something where they gave you the iconic moment with the character with the ball and chain.
And right away, it wasn't built up.
Well, yeah, it was kind of like it just sort of happened, but it was still done well, and it was that fanboy moment, which may develop more down the road. I also like the fact that he wasn't just taken out as the freak of the week, which Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. went through a lot early in the season of the first season. It was a little Smallville in that respect, but that was because they had to hold off until they could get to the point where it could do the serious things with Hydra. Hydra is still around. It's interesting to see Coulson.
Boy, is Hydra still around.
Yeah. It's interesting to see that Coulson is developing into the role as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. to the point where he's willing to sacrifice his team as necessary for the greater good of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is we can't, just because people are hurt, we can't just let things go. We have to keep going through. But he sacrificed half of his group essentially by doing that, and that hopefully is going to have repercussions for him and repercussions for the whole team.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was a major thing to go through. I also want to say, just as an aside, I read a couple people online saying, well, what a waste of Lucy Lawless to have her in this one episode, and she's not even really getting to stretch who she is or anything. She had, to me, the most realistic portion of dialogue in the entire episode, which is the scene where they're sitting there right after the first part, and she's sitting in the kitchen and she's leaned back on the chair and she's eating something and she's talking about how it tastes like crap or whatever. And it was just so perfectly true to life. It didn't feel like it was written dialogue. It felt like she was just delivering it kind of like an ad-lib thing, just talking. And, that that is the kind of thing that you expect from someone of her caliber, someone who's been doing great genre stuff for so long. It's just that one moment of just very natural feel up on the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm really desperate to see her come back. And it's kind of not only too bad that we may not get her back on the show, but it's also too bad that we may have wasted her, because she could play any number of different characters in different roles and stuff in Marvel, and to see her limited by this one thing, if that is the case, to not then have had the chance to do some other parts, because she's really excellent.
Do you think there's the possibility of her coming back, like we had Patton Oswalt come back here as the twin sort of deal?
Well, in a lot of ways, we're still suspecting, as Beatmaster is pointing out, that Patton Oswalt might be an LMD, a life model decoy.
That's what I'm getting to here.
But he also, I mean, the other version of him had said that he played video games with his brother all the time, and then when we see this other one of him, I mean, he could just be his brother. But at any rate, she seemed dead. She seemed really dead. When you're laying there unconscious with your eyes open after a car crash and losing your arm, it may have been shock, but she kind of seemed dead. And the other guy seemed dead, and there was just one guy left. So I don't know. But there also was the factor that her arm had been holding on to something that was mystical and magical and uber-powered, and who knows what can come of that. So I'm hoping that we get more Lucy Lawless somewhere in this, because it seems like a real waste otherwise. But if nothing else, she was excellent. It was good to have her.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, it is, I mean, a great thing to see her, come in for one episode, and it is a shame that she only came in for one episode. But all that aside, let's go to the DC side of things and go back 24 hours in that day to Gotham, or as I said on there when Dave asked us, "Hey, what did you guys think of this Gotham?" And I'm like, "Gotham? What is this Gotham you speak of?" With all kidding aside, but no, Gotham. Now, full disclosure, I have seen all or 90% of the second episode because I had to go to the little boy's room, and I missed the climactic ending of the second episode, so I can't. I will refrain from spoiling that for you guys, as being a gentleman. As my mom is cleverly putting, because you guys live on the wrong coast, and well, Beatmaster, you just live in Europe, so that's just weird for how you guys get your distributions. But so what did you think of the premiere of Gotham?
I enjoyed it, to use your descriptor. It was good. The problem with Gotham, and I knew this going in, was going to be this idea that they want to insert every character and every Easter egg for Batman villains. Yeah, but do you really need to lay all that out in the first episode? And the blatant things like the young Poison Ivy, who's under a different name, but having her stand there by the plants with the watering can and stuff. The Penguin made sense because the Penguin seems like he's a key portion of this, and the development of his character I can understand. The Nigma thing, while I dig Nigma, I definitely dig the Riddler, and I like that they're using him as part of the GCPD. I don't think it was necessary to have him be so blatantly, asking people things in riddles or answering them in riddles and stuff. I did like at least that Gordon kept knowing the answers and pissing him off. But it was so in your face at the same time that we're already getting the retelling of Batman's origin, of his parents dying and stuff. I wanted it to be more Gordon, more Bullock. If you're introducing people like Crispin Allen and Renee Montoya, great, but let's focus more on those characters than all the extra stuff. And I kind of wish that it wasn't Batman universe so heavily with the Catwoman, the young Catwoman stuff and everything. I wanted to be more about the cops dealing with Gotham that's going to this darker and darker place.
You wanted it more. You wanted more Gotham Central.
Yeah, I did. And I haven't read Gotham Central, but it's just that that's what I was looking more for from it. And I like the idea of the storyline of Gordon kind of losing his goodness. You know, his fiance sees him as a good man still, but he is seeing that he has to make these sacrifices now of what he knows is right to survive and to be able to make things work. The crux of him having to pretend to shoot the Penguin, giving these other people power over him, it won't matter as much when the Penguin comes back, but we know the Penguin's going to come back in not a good way for him anyways.
Yeah.
But it was...
And Evans, yeah, and sorry, but Evans making a point here that you already know where the villain's storylines are going, but that's not the point. Because
that shouldn't be the point.
Yeah, but it's like, and I'm going to use this analogy here, but you have to deal with it. With the Star Wars prequels, you knew where that Anakin became Vader. That's not the point of watching the prequels. The point is not. The point was not the destination; it's the journey.
It is the journey, and that's the point that I'm making. Is that look at the prequels as an example. The journey there was a load of crap.
Well, okay, yes,
it
that was a load of
them
crap.
To tell a completely different story in the past of the Star Wars universe than it did to tell that story, because that story was awful. It's one thing to say, oh, Darth Vader is this big, dark, mysterious heavyweight of power, and he's a badass and everything, and we're going to make him a whiny little kid turning into a whiny, stocky little bitch who kills children and just sits there and pouts all the time about this girl who doesn't love him and his dead mom. You lamed up the coolest thing about Star Wars and Boba Fett at the same time. Just took everything that was great about Star Wars and said, that's the problem. And that's what I don't want to see happen to Gotham. I don't want to see Gotham lose its cool by showing us these wishy-washy little kid versions and lame versions of who are supposed to be terrifying villains. I don't want to humanize all of these characters. I want some of the characters to just be big, scary, demonic nightmares. That's what makes them cool, and that's what makes Batman cool. And we're just seeing the build-up of all of them instead, and it's taking some of that power away. And it defeats the purpose of the show, which is supposed to be a show about Jim Gordon. And I'm far more interested in him and the actor who's playing him and the person who's playing Bullock. I love Donald Logue. I've been a fan of his for a long time. Mm-hmm. I'm way more interested in that than I am this tertiary Bruce stuff.
The Bruce stuff interests me, and I was talking to my mom about this because and all this, and I'm looking at the chat. That's why I get distracted here with Evan and B, and while I am interested in this, there is one thing that the pilot sort of had a little bit wrong, and to where that was at fault, and it was the fact that there were more world building to where it sort of makes it harder to where I am going to be interested in how big, because they had 8 million viewers tuning into it last Monday, which was I think it was a record. I am wondering how many people will tune in for this week.
Right.
Because I had Mom going while I was sitting there. I'm like, I'm gonna sit out there for you guys because I don't want to be going out there. And I'm realizing now that was a good call because it's like I'm like, biting my tongue, not want to be like not wanting to say anything about the second week. Because I will say the second week it does get a lot better, and I think Beat said it should have been a two-part. No, two-part. The second episode is a lot better. So expanding it into a two-part would have just made you go no, and made you want to watch this episode a lot more than the 2-hour Gotham season, the 2-hour season premiere or series premiere or whatever. Which this episode's called Selena Kyle, which at first I'm like, why are they calling it Selena Kyle when it's really just for the third act, to be honest.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the other part too, is that Gotham is supposed to be, I mean, it's basically modeled after Chicago. That's always what it's been. Metropolis is Manhattan.
And they film all of this in but they film all of this in New York.
Right, of course. But
yeah. And you can tell.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that you've got 2.715 million people in Chicago, according to Google, that I just looked up right now. Now, I'm not sure when this show is supposed to be set, but that many people, the odds of all of these various Batman villains and Batman himself and Jim Gordon all interacting at this point, and then they're all going to keep interacting up to when Bruce becomes Batman, and then it's all going to be interaction after that. Mm-hmm. It loses plausibility, and it's unnecessary. Now that's what I liked about the show, is that they introduced a character that we'd never heard of in Fish Mooney, and I'm not necessarily sold on Fish Mooney so much as I accept that character's there. And her boss is a classic character from the gangster era of Batman fighting the mobsters and stuff, and so that's okay. But the everybody knowing everybody thing, it just feels a little too incestuous to stuff. It's like, well then, really? So they're going to know who Nigma is when he is the Riddler. They're going to know who the Penguin is because they've been dealing with him since he was a little kid. Why didn't they just off him then? They're always going to have to sit there and say, we should have done that. Selena Kyle knows and follows Bruce Wayne around as a little boy. This is the problem that I'm talking about the pilot. I'm not talking about the second episode. You shut up. But I'm just saying,
no.
From that episode, that's what I'm left with, the challenges of the show.
Look at the kids. What I will say, and I'm still talking about the pilot, look at the kids. Because if you notice, a lot of the villains who are like Poison Ivy, with the exception of the Riddler, with Riddler, Penguin, and then the mob bosses are really young kids that they hint at, that they show in the pilot.
Right.
So they don't know each other.
Two of the three of them sort of have that thing happening already. Selena Kyle has now seen Bruce's parents' murder, and she's following him back to the mansion and stuff. Because curiosity has such a great ending for cats. But it's just, this is the crux. This is we're getting all of this stuff gelling, and again, this is one episode. This is one episode of like a couple days in time that all of these people have intersected in one way or another. And sure, Gordon has for the most part been the nexus point. But does that, if you're telling a story, does that make sense towards what you'd expect from reality? And that's kind of like the New 52. When the New 52 launched, it was trying to put in 75 years of continuity into a new universe that's only existed for 5 years, and try to make sense of all of these characters relating to each other and knowing each other and existing, and 5 Robins and all of these Green Lanterns and all this other stuff and the histories and stuff to make sense of all that. And I've said it before, 75 years of being able to write these things to get them to come together, trying to do that in a matter of just a couple of years, you can't do that. You didn't earn it that way. They earned it before by putting all of the work into it. So now it becomes like it doesn't feel realistic anymore. And not that it ever felt realistic. It was still comic books. It was still superheroes. People fly around and get sick from green rocks. But I'm saying that there was that sense of disbelief that you could overcome knowing that you're reading a comic book versus what they slammed together to try to remake a universe in a month as opposed to so many decades. And that's what Gotham is too. Gotham's giving us a pilot saying we're building the Batman universe, but we're giving you a lot of it right up front, and it's not recognizable yet, and these people aren't who they will be yet, but they all intersect, and that's somewhat silly. If you concentrated on one villain for the season, that would be one thing. Concentrating or introducing 4 to maybe 5 of the main Batman villains, because there's a couple of people who are potentially a Joker in this as well. That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I do like what they're doing with some of these smaller, and this is the little tease I'm going to give with the second episode. With some of the smaller rogues gallery characters that they're doing, because they gave a hint at one, and I'm like, the name sounds familiar, and Mom's like, well, who's that? And I'm like, the name. I'm like, was he over? And I'm having to go through all this, and I'm like, was he over here? And I actually had to go grab my tablet and search on Wikipedia and figure out, and like looking through comics, like the comic history of them, and I'm like, and all this, and and Evan asked before the show, like, why Mom's watching Gotham, and where I think there is a little bit of a bonding experience between me and her. She watched the Adam West Batman growing up, so that's part of it, and then she probably also watched the movies, but I think she was also enjoying it. I think the pilot was a little bit confusing for her, but the second episode was less because they did not jump around as much. Like they didn't go
and that's the thing.
Every single character.
That's a pilot, and I expect that pilots are always lay groundwork, and then you can spread stuff out after that. But I will say, if you look at the biggest complaint about certain superhero movies over the years, it's when they try to do too much in one film. Be it, Spider-Man sequels, how many villains are we going to put into this one? Batman sequels, why do we have to have Bane, Poison Ivy, and Mr. Freeze all in the same flick? You can't really develop any of them that way. We get more of a stretch with that after this, but this is the kind of stuff that we'd be less forgiving of in a film if it was happening there. And when you look at what Marvel has done with their movies, starting the characters out singly and then eventually getting them together, that's what basically the bar has been raised. And do I feel like Gotham from that pilot hits that same point of that bar? Not yet. It also could be that I'm Batmaned out. That's the other thing, is just like seeing Peter's origin a second time in the new movies after we had just gone through them with the other movies, with the Raimi movies. Yeah. I've seen Bruce's parents die twice on the big screen between the Burton Batman and then the Nolan Batman. Did I need to see a third time of it on this TV show when those films just passed us by? So it would have been more interesting to me to have the show be about Gotham and maybe be about Gordon and the GCPD than it would to be see young Bruce grow up. Because unless the show goes for 15 years, we're never going to see Batman on the show.
Yeah.
So
Oh
why
yeah.
do we need to see all of the other Batman stuff?
Yeah. And I will say this though. The pilot, I will give I will say it's very promising. Um Probably I would say probably a 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, that's what I give it.
Robin Lord Taylor, brilliant as Penguin.
Really great choice. I was excited when I
Yeah,
saw that guy. I've seen him in a couple other things, and he's just a weird guy. And
yeah.
I'm when I saw that he was the choice for Penguin, I'm like, that seems pretty inspired. That is
And
good.
actually, I'm on the Wikipedia page, and I'm because in the pilot, I'm like him and the dude who played or who plays Enigma. I'm like they sort of look a little too similar
They're
for
both
me.
kind of that skinny uber geek kind of dude.
Yeah, but Corey Michael Smith, and I'm like, why does he looks and it's weird if you go to his Wikipedia page, it's they use his picture from Gotham.
Yeah.
It's like that's the only thing he's been on. Um,
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think that the choice for who to play the Riddler, that looks more classically like what I'd expect to play a young Riddler. As far as who to play Penguin, they could have gone in a much weirder way than that. I think the person that they chose was a very good Penguin. I don't really see that he looks like a Penguin. And that so many people keep telling him that. I don't really quite get that yet. That feels a little forced
yeah,
too. But overall, I'm bashing a show that I actually enjoyed the first episode.
no,
So I don't
yeah,
want to cut it down or anything. I just I have to point out the faults and hope that it improves to get me to the
and
show that I want to see more.
and I'm gonna give this Corey Michael Smith major props. This is his first major TV role.
Well, it was
Um,
his major role of 4 lines, dude. Let's not build the guy up too much.
no, his first major TV role.
Yes, and he had
He,
4 lines.
well, but still, because
But still.
he was in theater before that in 2013, and then he's got a couple of stuff coming out as well. But yeah, let's jump over to New Girl, um, and then we will go to Stars and Stops afterwards. Trying to remember the episode.
Yeah, that's
Cor-
exactly it. I cannot remember the episode much at all. I know that it was Nick, not Nick. It was just going on like Tinder dates.
oh, the like 10 dates or something like
Yes.
that. It was like the 10 dates episode. See, this is the problem with all the with all these episodes because and you guys can't see this if you're watching this later, but I literally wrote every episode that premiered because I watched every episode that premiered this week. Um, because I have no life.
I don't see
Um,
Scorpion down there. Oh yeah, I do.
yes,
It's after Mini
yes,
Project.
it's after Mini Project because I watched it after I rearranged the furniture in my room.
Oh, there you go.
While I was doing it, which I enjoyed. I actually enjoyed Scorpion. That was It surprised me at how I enjoyed it.
I can't
Like,
say that I was surprised by it because they gave the entire pilot in the multitudes of commercials that they played
yeah.
every single week going into
Hmm.
this whole fall thing. Every
Yeah.
week on Big Brother, no, every episode. So 3 times a week during Big
Yeah.
Brother, I would see the commercial that gave us the whole rundown of the first episode.
Yeah.
Of Scorpion.
Evan was surprised that the for Scorpion. Okay, so we'll do Scorpion real quick. That who was it? Catherine McPhee, her character.
Yes.
Um, that she got a job on Scorpion. I'm like, okay, why are you surprised? Because first off, she's on the poster.
Yeah.
She's in
Oh
the poster
God, no,
thing.
no. They did the thing like they did last season where they were talking about Sarah Michelle Gellar and Robin Williams and these people doing the show together. But they were saying, Catherine McPhee comes back to television. Like it's such a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, wasn't she just on that show that got canceled after 2 seasons? And
Yeah.
before that, she was American Idol. I don't remember ever in my life hearing Catherine McPhee is what we've been missing from TV all these years.
But,
And
but yeah.
I'm not saying I have anything against her, but it wasn't like she was the dream casting that everybody was waiting for.
Okay, hold on. Hold on, wait, was it? Wait, were the ads like she's coming back to TV or back?
No, it was
to
absolutely. It was like she was the star of the show. This is what CBS was advertising. I only saw the ad like twice, but it was like this big deal. Catherine McPhee is coming to CBS on the new show Scorpion on her new show. And it's like, really?
Because technically, I think it would be she's coming back to dramatic non-musical TV.
What other show did she do besides the
The
musical one?
The one before it was she had musical elements in it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I don't.
Yeah.
She's only done. This is only her second show that I'm aware of.
Well, yeah, but
I know she's shown up as like a background character in an Anna Faris movie, but other than that, and maybe she was in one of those like shark attack movies. But I don't really know what else that she did that it was such a big deal. Now I know that show was really popular in the first season and got a lot of attention, and she was like the main star of it. But then there was the understudy girl that more people were kind of like, oh, I'm more into her, and that show again canceled very quickly in the second season. It fell apart.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out the name of the show, and I'm like, what is that show?
And it was not like it was a big hit. So I don't understand that viewpoint of like coming to CBS, Catherine McPhee in a show that seems like it's about everybody else way more than her. It's about her kid more than it is about her.
Yeah, but Evan was sitting here thinking, they were gonna go to the diner in every episode, and I'm like, no, I very much obviously Scorpion suffered from pilotitis for me. Because I saw them getting her a job.
Oh yeah.
I honestly, I saw them like, okay, she's getting a job.
Because she drove in the car with him. That was the thing. It's kind of like, oh, hot mom. How to manipulate the hot mom to stick around. Okay, we'll talk about your kid more. That's all it was. That's all the thing really seeed to be. Why don't they say coming back to TV after being on that season of the X-Files you didn't really like Robert Patrick? It's coming to TV, that guy who didn't really do anything after having sex with Stifler's mom. What? I just don't really.
Wait, what? Oh yeah. I'm like, wait, hold on. I thought you were talking about the fat guy, and I'm like, wait, what?
No.
And then
back to TV, that guy you get confused with Josh Gad. I just don't really know what the whole point was.
But no, and then, oh gosh, I forgot where I was going with this whole thing. But I'm sitting here, and then I'm going with this the whole pilot. I'm sitting there watching the whole pilot, and I'm enjoying the pilot too. While I'm cleaning, vacuuming the whole floor, rearranging trying to move the desk without the leg thing bending out of the drawers because it loves to do that. Because I buy the great furniture, and I'm enjoying the action scenes, and I'm like, oh yay! And then this is what I was gonna. Evan goes, do you think they will do the whole relationship thing? And I'm like, it won't be first season. If this gets picked up for a second season, or like depending on how far I go, it'll do like the Castle thing, where I think it was like third or fourth season.
They stretched it out on Castle for a while, but it was definitely they started to build more of attraction to each other as the seasons went on. The first season was really short though too. It was a mid-season replacement, and then they built up more and more over it. But it was several seasons before they actually hooked up, and then my interest waned. And that happens with a lot of these shows. I was surprised that it happened with Castle, but then I realized that most of what I liked about Castle was just Castle.
Yeah. But no, yeah, and I mean this was interesting because I mean you definitely see Catherine McPhee playing the like they said the relationship girl who will focus in on what they need and help them out with it.
They need a
And others,
caretaker. They need
yeah,
someone who's normal that can be around them, that the main guy trusts more than he does Robert Patrick's government character. He has a total
mhm,
distrust of him, so he wants somebody there that can do the things that they can't do. They're all too smart, but they don't have interpersonal skills, so they needed someone who has interpersonal skills and is motherly enough to want to take care of them.
yep,
And as an added bonus, they will help her relate to her kid. I get that. It's pretty pat. It's perfectly suited towards this type of CBS show, like a
mhm,
person of interest or whatever the one that had the guy from Lost, Sawyer, last season that didn't make it,
intelligence.
and Numbers, and all of these types of shows that CB boots out over and over again. It feels very patented. It feels very simplistic, and we know who our audience is on this network, and so this is what we're giving you. I liked it because it was, all the geeks, and hopefully we get to have that, so it's like an action series for the Big Bang Theory. But overall, I can't say that it's special. It's just good enough to kill an hour on.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, so now let's talk about New Girl. Um, the Diaz dates, or basically, as I like to call it, um, Jess learns dating advice from Schmidt.
I would call it tender, uh, because that's sort of what it was. It was based off of like a Tinder style app, and it was 10 dates that were based around trying to meet a guy through one of those apps. I don't really know
Yeah.
what the episode was. Maybe I'm not making a joke. Maybe that's what it's actually called. So
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I forget what the name of the date or episode was to be honest, because I'm just sort of like, hey, this is on, and I forget that. Oh, hey, Night Attack is on, and I forget to watch that.
it was a good episode. It was solid.
Yeah.
They're still doing what they can to keep Jess and Nick separated. So they're giving them their own plots. So while that was going on, Nick and Cece and Winston and Coach went to Winston's barbecue with all of his police academy friends, and the other three were all stoned, and it was good, dumb comedy that works really well. I love New Girl's writers.
Oh yeah.
They really nail the way that these characters talk and act. Uh,
Which I think a lot of them are, but like sometimes it's the actors themselves that will do it too. Like they will throw in lines, like Jake Johnson will go like, "Hey, I think Nick might say this,"
yeah, I mean they're all
or something.
very funny people, the people who play the characters.
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to take credit away from the writers or anything. I don't really know if it is more of an ad lib style show or not.
Well, no, because I remember the episode of the writers' room, that they featured the New Girl,
Mhm.
and Jake Johnson was on the episode, and he goes, like he came in like, hey, like for like one of the episodes before like they were writing, he's like, hey, yeah, can we have Nick say something like this or whatever? And they're like, yeah, that might work, or no, Nick would never say that. And I
Right.
think I know for that season, Elizabeth Merriweather, I think is her name, but the creator was still very heavily involved. I don't know if she still is now, but like I think, but the creator was like, I think this creator, excuse me, is still is still involved in in show running it.
Yeah.
But it still seems like it if it's not, like, which is great to see if if the showrunner has stepped down or the creator has stepped down, that it hasn't lost its touch. that like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna step down, and why is it sounding so weird? It's like the third season of Mork and Mindy, where it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna do this weird thing, and like, just okay, it's just really extremely weird. And I can tell you're going to look it up.
I was looking to see she's still listed as the created by on the show, but
well, it'll be created by, but
an executive producer and composer. But I'm not seeing stuff like under writing credits or anything, so I'm not sure as far as if she's actually writing episodes or not, or if she's spearheading the writing room. But at any rate, yeah, still very solid show overall. Not a lot you can say about it. I mean, besides just repeating the jokes and stuff. It's just.
And then this week's episode has, oh God, what's her name? One of the Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, good.
I saw the episode, or I saw the commercial for it, and I'm like, okay, are we sure she shouldn't be over, filling out the bingo card over there for Mindy Project?
Right, yeah, they keep working their way through everybody. But at least it's nice that Fox is taking care of them in between their seasons. They're putting them in guest spots on other shows and stuff on their other network. They don't just move them to FXXXXX. By the way, X.
F20X?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, so here, let's do starts and stops, which I have been linked in the show notes for you guys if you want to follow along.
Starts and stops is the portion of our show where we talk about the shows that are coming up this coming week, starting with Tuesday, because we get a little late on Mondays, and we take a look and see what's coming up. We give you some of the highlights that you can look forward to on your TV schedule.
Starting with tomorrow, September 30th, at 8 p.m. on ABC, you have the series premiere of Selfie, starring, in case you haven't seen the commercials, starring Star Trek's John Cho and Doctor Who's and Guardians of the Galaxy's Karen Gillan. I'm sitting there. They promote the fact that John Cho's on, I think, Harold and Kumar and
Star Trek.
And then I'm like, are they going to promote? No, they don't give her any credit for being on Doctor Who.
Because they're pitching American things, sir.
But
nobody here knows anything about British television. I don't know what you're even talking about. I've never heard of this Doctor Who. That sounds like a question more than an answer.
No, this is true, because I did watch the Graham Norton show, and I want to yell at Peter Capaldi, even though he watched Doctor Who as a kid, and he kept on saying that I am the new Doctor Who, and I'm like, you are the Doctor! You're
Doctor.
Not Doctor Who! Come on!
And you better not be abbreviating that either.
But yeah, and then at 8:30 is the series premiere of Manhattan Love Story, also on ABC.
A show I know absolutely nothing about. I have somehow missed everything that has to do with this program.
Are you serious?
I don't know what it is, so I'll probably look at the first episode and go, oh, and then go on.
It's I saw the
no, just let me be surprised. Don't spoil things, Greg. Don't be such a spoiler.
Actually, it looks pretty good, pretty interesting.
It's from you watching too much Doctor Who.
No, it looks pretty interesting though. I'll say that. And it stars the dude who was on Greek, who shares Evan's first name. That's how Evan shared it with me.
You just said a lot of words, and I didn't understand any of them, so we'll go on.
At 9 p.m. on PBS, you have the second season premiere of Makers, Women in Comedy. The second season premiere, I believe I already said that. And History Channel has the not superior, but still on the air, fifth season fall premiere of Top Gear. The episode called "What Can It Take?" Again, like I said, not superior because it's the American version, not the British version. Top Gear.
Why do you hate America?
It's the American version. The British version is superior to the American version.
Is it because they use petrol instead of gasoline?
No, okay. Here is the American version of Top Gear. We're gonna go from this. It's basically the challenge episodes of Top Gear, of the British version of Top Gear. That's every episode, not the star and reason to be first car, not covering the news. I mean, if you're gonna rip off the episode of or the British version of Top Gear, rip off the whole premise, not and like they tried to do in the beginning, and then I guess Focus tested it. Like, we like it when you guys do the challenges and pick on each other.
We like to go to the nitty gritty. We don't no filler. We're not a hot dog.
Filler.
We are all about the good stuff, sir. We like our dessert first and a lot of it. We want all appetizer meals. We don't want to deal with any of that stuff. No vegetables. Forget that.
What do you mean? Okay.
I don't know what a broccoli is. What is that? I am Groot? No, you take this and you move on to the good stuff.
Okay.
Give me some deep fried and chocolate.
And then, okay, I really want to see. The only time I'll actually probably ever watch the History Channel is when they do a crossover episode with the British version, just so I can see how the British people pick on how Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond James May and Richard Hammond pick on the other four hosts, because they pick on Richard Hammond for being basically American.
And I'm sure the Americans will be like, yeah, we're going to go do the fun stuff, try to keep up. So at 11 o'clock on MTV is the series premiere of something called Happy Land. I assume that is about meals for children from McDonald's?
No, it's a new drama. It takes place after the TV shows Awkward and Faking It. It's their new scripted TV shows that they're doing on Tuesdays.
Are all of these shows named after sexual encounters? Awkward, Faking It, Happy Land. It just sounds really dirty. I remember when MTV had a show called Undressed. I guess they just never moved on from there.
You could say that, yeah.
I did.
If your mind just goes in that general area.
No, I don't watch MTV.
No. If your mind just goes in that general, if you're generally that perverted.
Most of their shows are about teen moms. Let's face it. I'm not disparaging MTV, anything that they didn't.
It's funny you mention that. If you move on to Wednesday, October 1st, let me see if there's anything on beforehand that I can mention. Before I get to MTV, at 9 p.m. on CBS, you have the 10th season premiere of Criminal Minds with the episode called X.
Now that's a crossover I want to happen. Criminal Minds with teen moms. Let's nip that in the bud.
And then at 10 p.m. on CBS, you have the series premiere of Stalker. That one I will skip, so if Evan wants to do a special report, so I don't have to watch Stalker. And then at MTV, you have Teen Mom 2, the 10th season finale. See, there you go, Teen Mom. And then at 11 p.m. on MTV2, you have the special presentation of Nitro Circus Live, Nitro Circus the movie. That is actually really, really good. I saw that before. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is on Netflix. But if you like Nitro Circus, and like me, Nitro Circuit or MTV2 is in standard definition, you have high definition, find it on Netflix if it's still out there. Thursday on CW at 8 p.m. has the 6th season premiere of The Vampire Diaries. 9 p.m. on NBC, you have the series premiere of Bad Judge. And Fox has the series premiere of Grace Point. I'm debating on watching this just because all the previews I have seen makes this sound exactly like the British version.
Yeah, I mean, I'm recording the first episode, but I am almost doing that because I wonder if Erin will watch it since she didn't watch the
Broadchurch.
Yeah, the Broadchurch BBC series with me. Maybe she'll give that a look. but I can't say that I'm excited to watch the remake of that show.
And it's David Tennant in an American accent. I don't know if I'm gonna like that. And it's it's like those are 2 strikes against you right now. And I'm like, okay, but it's a 10-part miniseries. But so it's, I don't know. I'm probably gonna end up watching it, but because I did like Broadchurch. I'm gonna say that right now. I did enjoy Broadchurch.
I like Broadchurch too. Wasn't that also 10 episodes?
Yeah, it was 10 episodes. So it's nice to see though that Grace Point is sticking to the 10 episode format and not stretching it out to, the 22 episode format that we typically see from the tradition from Fox or CBS or whoever, the typical from America.
Yeah, I'll give it the credit for doing something that's more concise. When you get a long form murder mystery show, it gets kind of tough to go 22 episodes of something like that, waiting for a resolve. 10 episodes seems to really did enough to develop the characters, to develop the story, and give you a satisfying close on it.
Yeah, it's. I'm almost gonna have to go like, okay, wipe it out, wipe out the end. Just sit there and go, wipe out the end of Broadchurch, or hope that they actually did change the end for the people who do it. But anyways, our bickering aside, CW also at 9 has the 2nd season premiere of Reign. 9:30 has on NBC has the series premiere of A to Z, or A to Z.
That one I'm looking forward to trying.
Yes, or A to Z as they say over in England. I've been watching a lot of BBC on today. Let's see here. At 11 p.m. on Reels, you have the series premiere of Jean-Claude Van Damme Behind Closed Doors.
They should have closed the door on him a long time ago. I'm glad that Reels is making an effort to finish that off.
Yeah. At Friday, October 3rd, on Amazon, you have the 1st season fall premiere at 12:01 a.m. of Creative Galaxy. This is a kids show, so I'm just putting that out there. So and I think they've been advertising the crap out of that too. Like all over. So if you have kids, there you go. Go buy it over on Amazon.
And if you don't, you can probably order some from Amazon Prime and get them shipped today, and then you'll have them just in time to watch the show.
Yeah. 7:30 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. This is the interesting thing that I mentioned for Evan. Well, not for Evan, but like I mentioned it in regards to Evan. The Fox Sports special, the National League Division Series A Game 1 and B Game 1 special presentation. Basically, instead of doing them on Fox, they're going to do them on Fox Sports 1, the baseball games, I guess. So, hey!
Leave it to Fox to come up with a whole new network to move all its crap over to.
Yeah, to move all the sports games over to. Hey, they're saving us that trouble. 8 p.m. on ABC, you have the 1-hour 4th season premiere of Last Man Standing. And then CW, you have the new time slot for Whose Line Is It Anyway? 9 p.m. you have the time slot premiere of Shark Tank, which I thought we already had that, but I'm not complaining. And then Disney Channel, you have the 1-hour special presentation of Star Wars Rebels. Spark of a Rebellion, parts 1 and 2. I guess this is the movie, quote unquote, that they've been talking about. And then at 11:59 p.m. you have on Comedy Central the 3rd season premiere of Gabriel Iglesias' Stand Up Revolution. A great show that I need to watch more of because I've just passed over it the last season. I don't think I watched any of season 2. Saturday, October 4th, you have at 7:30 NLDS game game A or game 2. That's at 7:30. Blah blah blah.
Something sports ball.
Yeah, baseball game 2. One of the teams are playing there. The no wait no Tigers will be playing for Detroit are playing on TBS. But at 9 p.m. on PBS, you have the 40th season premiere of Austin City Limits. Stars has the series premiere of Survivor's Remorse. And like I mentioned earlier, the 11th or at 11 p.m. on BBC America, you have the 16th season premiere of The Graham Norton Show, featuring Peter Capaldi and Gemma Arterton and Denzel Washington. And they mentioned in there Peter Capaldi's band that also featured Craig Ferguson.
Oh, nice.
As a little aside, yes. But they called it by the second name, the Dream Boys. First, and then I forget what the first name was. It's like the something out of hell. I can't remember the names, but yeah, it was a great show. I really enjoyed it. They tried to explain Doctor Who to Denzel Washington, and he's just like, "What?" He's like, "Man, I'm a black man from America. You think I understand what Doctor Who is?"
No, it's Denzel. In 30 years' time, they'll make a movie out of Doctor Who, and he'll star in it, and people go, "Oh, that Denzel, he's so great." Because Denzel is great.
Yeah. And then Sunday, October 5th at 7 p.m. on ABC, you have the 25th season premiere of America's Funniest Home Videos, which hey, guess what? They're starting a YouTube channel. Yay, because they're only, 10 years behind the times?
No kidding. America's Funniest Home Anything is just, that's a lie and a half. That hasn't been relevant. When Saget leaves your show, maybe just drop it. Maybe just stop. You've won. You've already won.
Yeah. And then 7:30 on Fox, you have the new time slot, 5th season premiere of Bob's Burgers. Let's see what else is there. Anything worth mentioning? Oh, Showtime has at 9 p.m. the 2-hour 4th season premiere of Homeland. 9:30 has on Fox the series premiere of Mulaney, and at 10 p.m. on FX you have the first season finale of The Strain. And then on Monday, at 8 p.m. on FX you have the second season premiere of The Originals. Sci-Fi has at 9 p.m. an original telefilm called Dead Still, which sounds weird. It's just like going over to caskets and going, "You dead? Okay," or something like that. 10 p.m. on MTV, you have the second season premiere of Are You the One? And that's it. And final curtains will be updated here soon, probably within the next month, I would say. But that is it for starts and stops.
You want to start making bets on what's the first thing that's going to wind up on Final Curtains? I'm thinking Mulaney.
I don't know. Mulaney would probably be a safe bet. But here, so let's go. So what do you want to talk about next?
Well, I will say, since we already talked about Scorpion, that was a show that I was expecting to watch and enjoy to a certain degree, and it was fine. And I'll check out the next episode. But the show that I was not expecting to like, and I enjoyed far more than I expected to, was Forever. I only watched the first episode, but I've seen a few people compare it to a Sherlock Holmes versus a House kind of thing.
I feel is lazy comparisons. I honestly feel like that's just lazy comparison.
He does have that observational air to him. That's the skill set that he has, but he doesn't have the attitude.
Sean Spencer has that comparison then too. No one ever compared him to Sherlock Holmes.
Not directly, but it was a detective show. Monk had that as well. It's just that you see a show that it's about a guy who's lived forever, and you don't expect it to also be a detective program. Uh, but it is the way he comes about it, and he does have that kind of like matter of factness to him. Sean disguised what he did.
Mhm.
Sean was much closer to the mentalist. Ha ha. No, I know it was the reverse, but this I can see the comparison, but it's not really, that wasn't what the crux of the show is.
Yeah.
I just think overall I didn't have high expectations for this program,
Mhm.
and it turned out to be much better than I thought it was going to be. I especially like his relationship with Judd Hirsch's character, who is always like the sort of fatherly, curmudgeonly type, and he's still in that form here, but he's actually, the Ian Gruffuld's character looks at him more like his kid. It's the reversal, because he found him when he was a little child, when he was a baby, and raised him this entire time. And there's this moment where they're sitting there and they're talking, and he kisses him on the top of the head like you do to your kid or your grandkid. And it was just this really sweet little moment that I was not expecting out of the show. And that was kind of like, I really want to watch this. And then the cop that he teams up with, all of that was actually really well done. I think she was a more solid character than I expected her to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit more, you know, familiar tropes and stuff. The fact that there is apparently somebody else who has also been living all of these centuries that
Which
just
they
discovered
get,
him.
yeah, which they get more into. It's this they get hit with this because I saw both episodes, um, and I will hint at this. They hint at him, and I'm going to use these air quotes because we're not quite 100% sure because with technology it could be voice modulations. Um, Sort of like they do with like in Burn Notice. So like at the end, like after they solve the the crime of the week thing,
Right.
then it's like, hey, it's my stalker.
We get a little
Or
bit more of that story.
yeah,
That's
or
the
there is
connecting thing between
yeah,
the episodes, but the episodes
or
themselves are
when
lost.
when there is a little bit of like I'm not solving a crime, then or when the son is working on something else, the son is usually working on something else, so he'll be like, hey, I found out that this is something here, sort of deal.
Yep.
Like the son more so far has been working on trying to figure out who the other guy is,
Right.
sort of deal. But usually so far, and there's only been 2 episodes, so we don't know. They could break this pattern of Burn noticing us, where I know how to break our curse at the end of the episode, and shum, sort of deal. Like, and I'm like, all right, is Matt Nix behind this show, or sort of deal? But I mean, no, But I mean, I enjoyed Forever. I mean, I was surprised a little bit with how I've enjoyed it, but I do feel like it's a little bit of a cop out to compare the guy to Sherlock Holmes. I mean, especially
I don't disagree with you, but I think
yeah.
that it was the simple way to describe a show that has a lot going on beyond that. It's one thing to say, because we've seen shows too where people have lived for a long time. There was the Highlander series, there was Forever Night. There's been a lot of different things that were that kind of theme.
Mm-hmm.
So them doing this, what was basically another genre show that was like that too. There was Dracula just last year. Sorry, Evan, but this has more going on than just.
Sorry, I was so slow on the what Dracula. Oh yeah, that's right. He had it in the draft 2 years ago.
But this combines a couple of different things into it, and saying, "Oh, he's a guy who's lived for centuries, but he's also a guy who, solves crimes, and he's a coroner, and all these other things kind of added up. It's easy to say, it's this mixed with this. It's the Mark Miller plot that he writes on the back of his books to sell you his graphic novel before it gets made into a movie somewhere. Kingsman coming to theaters soon. Thank God for Colin Firth."
Yeah, and actually, there we go. Because wait, Dracula was on what network? Was it NBC?
That was NBC.
Okay, it wouldn't work. I just typed in the chat. The caller is Dracula.
Yeah, overall, I'm hoping that the second episode of Forever is on demand, because I'd like to see it, and I probably will jump into watching the series.
The problem I had, because again, with us doing the show on Monday, I couldn't watch it live, but so I ended up watching it on demand in 4:3, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And then I ended up watching it with Mom, because she was watching it, and I'm like, because I think she watched it live or something, or she just watched the second episode or something, or you could possibly watch it on Hulu, unless it's on under Hulu, the Hulu Plus Lock and Key or something, or the Hulu Plus 8-day delay, which is stupid. Hulu, I'm starting to hate, unless it's like, because it's just getting ridiculous now with all this stuff, because it's like, you have to buy Hulu Plus, and I'm like, or I can pirate.
Yeah, or I could pirate, and that's sort of. I mean, I've not been a Hulu fan this whole time, but I've been getting closer and closer to saying, oh, maybe I'll give Hulu a shot as more things show up there, and just to give Erin more variety, because I know she watches streaming shows a lot on Netflix and stuff, and she watches the on-demand stuff, and they've just taken away some of the Comcast channels that she would normally watch. Mm-hmm. So I've been looking for alternatives for her. But I see Hulu as less of a pain in the ass now than I do Amazon streaming, and their sign up for Amazon Prime, and then you get to watch all the streaming stuff, unless it's not this one, and then you kind of have to pay us anyways. La la la, suck it.
Yeah, what I think would make, and I know this is way off of what else is on and more into cord killers territory. What would make it, what would win Hulu a lot is if they had profiles, like Netflix does.
Oh yeah, so you can kind of set up your own thing.
Yeah, because I've been talking to this one lady at my church, to where I'm like, oh, because she cut the cable. She cut it to where they just have internet at their house, at her husband and their daughter, and I'm like, and they're trying out Chromecast, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right now, Chromecast, if you stream Netflix on there, it counts as 2 streams. If I'm not mistaken. And I'm like, and I told her that, and I'm like, yeah, so basically, like, if you're streaming something on from your phone to, using Netflix, and they're doing a free month trial, and then someone else is watching something from, like, a tablet or, a laptop, it'll cut off it'll freeze your TV. Like, your TV will pause. And because, like, with their account, because they have the basic one, they're not trying out the $12.99 family plan, which is like 4 streams.
Right.
And so I'm like, and I'm sitting there, I priced it out for them, like, okay, you get a Roku, like either a Roku 2 or a Roku 3, because I think like the Roku 2 is like $69 or like $70, and the Roku 3 is like
normally it's $99, but the Roku 3 I see on sale all the time for $70.
Yeah, and plus with the Roku 3, you can get it has the headphones to where you can sit there and go, and you're not disturbing everyone else and that's around. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of the added perks to doing all this stuff. And so wait, the Roku 2 doesn't have YouTube? Is that because Evan's pointing out that Roku 2? 3 has YouTube.
Right. The Roku 3 has YouTube. The Roku 2 does not yet.
That is stupid.
Well, it was one of those things that they introduced later on. The YouTube thing was added post, and the Roku 3 was the one that they emphasized it on so far.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't even really use that on the Roku 3. I don't know that I would. And every time I try to watch YouTube when I'm watching Galactic Netcast when they're streaming live, I get the rejection back saying, no, you can't watch this. I'm like, well, you're a jerk. So
yeah.
I think honestly, you're just going to end up winding up buying like 3 or 4 different devices to still see all the stuff you want, and then you're going to have to subscribe to 3 or 4 different services to get the stuff you want. It almost makes me think that cable might be the superior answer.
Well, yeah, and because this is the thing I've told them, like, because I'm like, and this is where it's like, well, with me, it's Apple TV, but then again, it's like I have a Mac, I have iTunes, like that's stuff that I'm like that's that I'm most familiar with, and with them, it's like, well, like her daughter has iTunes and all that stuff, but they're all Android.
Yep.
And all that, so it's like, and I'm like, so it's like, well, Roku might be your best bet. And then the Chromecast, it's one of her older sons, is letting her borrow it, and then if they like it, she's gonna buy it off them for $10, which is like, I'm like, dude, that's a steal. I'd buy it right now. Like, okay.
Yeah, the Chromecast, same thing. I see those on sale all the time for like $17 or so. They're always.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find these things so cheap now, and I mean, a Chromecast already was something that you just bought because why not have it? But when it comes down to one of these boxes, if I'm going to invest in one, it's going to be something that's completely agnostic from a service. Mm-hmm. So even though Amazon has Netflix and a bunch of the other services on there, I'm not going to buy their box because I know that they're always going to lean a preference towards their own thing. Same thing with Apple. You know, I have a MacBook, but I do have an Android phone, so does my wife. And we have PC computers as well, and I would just prefer to have something that doesn't care what you're going to send it to. And Google, for being a Google device, Google wants everybody to be able to access their stuff as far as their Chromecast and things. They don't care if you're on a Windows phone or an Apple phone or an Android phone. They would be perfectly happy as long as you're running it through their device. They don't care. And you know, they might care about how Windows tries to cheat out of the advertising on YouTube, but that's something completely different.
Yeah, and I mean, the only services that I really priced her on was Netflix and Hulu. Yeah. Because it's $10 and $10.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that $99 is a bad price for a year of the streaming from Amazon either. It's just that, again, like Hulu versus Hulu Plus, I want to know that when I'm paying this money or whatever, that I'm getting what I'm kind of being led to believe. Hulu Plus bothers me is that I'm going to pay for your premium, but I'm still going to get the same weird ads and the weird ad layouts and stuff. I don't really think that that's worth it to me when I can pay $8 to Netflix and not get any ads. Versus Amazon, okay, I pay $99 and I get the Amazon streaming throughout the year, but I don't necessarily get all of the things that Amazon can stream. Some stuff you still have to pay for. Just like Amazon Prime, some stuff you get 2-day shipping on, and a lot of stuff you don't. And it's kind of a it's kind of a BS. So anyway, do you want to talk about Family Guy, or do you want to talk about SNL?
Let's talk about well, real quickly. What did you think about The Middle, Goldbergs, and Modern Family?
They were all fine.
Yeah.
You know, they were.
I will say, because I noticed you did not check out Blackish.
I did not. I forgot to set it up to record, and I just haven't gone back and checked on some things that I missed yet.
Yeah, Blackish was good. How to Get Away with Murder. Oh my gosh.
I got a few minutes into How to Get Away with Murder, but it's that time of night that I was like, I really need to go to bed. Yeah. So I might try to go back and check that too. It looked pretty good.
Yeah, that was one I made my mom watch it because I watched it, and then I'm like, okay, mom, you need to watch this. And then she got to the end, and she's like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, right. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to watch this whole thing. Cause like I got she's like, yep. But yeah, so that one's a good one. But SNL, holy crap, I love this. This one did not have the dip, the traditional dip for me. And I'm I don't know if it was the writers, like if it was the new writers or the new cast, but I think I could pick out the Streeter Seidel sketches. I have a feeling I could pick out some of the Streeter Seidel. I think he might have been the He-Man, the opening theme after the monologue.
That was pretty good.
I loved it. And then and if it wasn't if that wasn't I think the Pete Davidson thing during Weekend Update. I think if that
was
wasn't
great.
that was
So great. Weekend Update, man. I mean, the news jokes were just the news jokes, and they were okay. It seemed like they really put more of the jokes and more of the emphasis on Michael Che, which was nice to sort of introduce him on.
Che was I can tell Che was nervous.
Yeah, but you get that. But yeah. I think overall it was they let him lead on this episode, which was good to help introduce him. They brought out Cecily Strong as one of her recurring news characters that we haven't been able to have since she went into the news chair. That was great. I always love to see that character. And I love to see Cecily Strong because she's awesome. But I think that she might have been the weakest of the guests for the Weekend Update because, well, maybe not compared to Keenan singing, but the scene, the woman who was like, I can't remember what it was. It was like something about finding a man or whatever, and relationships and everything. I don't remember exactly what
the relationship expert essentially.
Yeah, she was great. Her rant got better and better. She got more and more intense and crazy-eyed and stuff, and I just died.
I think that was her stand-up. That's her stand-up routine now. That was
I don't care. Routine. It was good. It was really good. And then the young kid who apparently Bill Hader is the one who set him up to be on the show.
Yeah. Pete Davidson. Yeah. But oh my gosh, this is. I don't know if I want to say that was Streeter Seidel who wrote that because of how he was breaking. It wasn't like he was breaking to laugh necessarily, or well, only to laugh, but it was breaking like, are you serious? Like how Bill Hader would laugh for Stefan.
Right.
Because like where Mulaney would sit there and write stuff just before going to air, like okay, I haven't read this before rehearsal,
right,
sort of deal, and I'm like, holy crap, Lorne Michaels is allowing this to go to air.
That kid owned, man. That kid owned it. He was so awesome. I was just like, I don't know who this is. I don't know who they just brought out here. Is this a character? Is this just a cast member? I don't know. It was just the funniest thing in the world to me. It just got funnier and funnier. I'm like, I can't believe this is going on. This is awesome. The sketches and stuff were good. One of the things that I had been talking about that my complaint was with Saturday Night Live was that the writers had done this thing where they'd just gone to everything was a TV show or a game show or a chat show or something like that. Didn't really see that this episode. We started out with.
I did it once.
Yeah, it really felt like it was a nice breath of fresh air for what the program has been. So the introduction of new writing must have made a difference. I found this episode to be consistently strong. Not the greatest of all SNL stuff, but some good scenes, some good funny stuff. I even watched the musical guest. I watched Ariana Grande and her performances, and she did very well.
Yeah, I loved the NFL sketch. Not the cold open, but the one afterwards, where it was even Colin Jost, his first sketch. That was it. That was his very first sketch where
Yeah.
he's like, "I'm the punter, tax fraud."
That, and I thought that was a little bit like Key and Peele have done their football players sketches a couple of times where they're introducing everybody, and I thought it was going to be more of a ripoff of that. I was intimidated, not intimidated. I was expecting to be, bothered by it, but it had its own reasoning and it had its own message and stuff, and it was very topical for what's been going on. So
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, this is all good. I mean, that was their TV bit for the night, but that made sense for what they
Well,
were doing.
they've done it. They did it twice. They did the Roger Goodell bit
Right.
for the cold open, which was pretty good, and then they did that with the introduction, where it was my favorite part, and the actress, or the comedian, where they're like, "I beat my wife," or
Oh yeah, and
I
then
took my, I'm the wife.
I'm the wife, and I beat him back.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. And I'm like, if they can keep this up, SNL would be back in the how we remembered it, and how, like, from before, with like Will Ferrell, and back in the heyday.
I don't know if I call that the heyday, but they
Well, back
definitely,
in the,
this was a strong start to the season. And
yeah,
it's a good sign for the season. We always see the episodes that are going to tank. It depends on the guest. If they get somebody who's not a comedian or an actor, but is like a sports star or something like that, I don't know that they're getting a lot of NFL players this season. But overall, yeah, the weird sort of 80s sitcom thing that they
yeah.
did, that was totally bizarre, but I got what they were going for.
That seemed like the John Milhauser thing that they did last year, where it seemed like him doing his thing.
Yeah, it was odd, but
Yeah,
it's an acceptable odd in the midst of the rest of the show.
yeah,
Overall, yeah, I think it's good. I know that Bill Hader is going to be coming up as a guest, I think next month on the 11th or
yeah.
something. That I'm looking
Oh,
forward to. So, it's just a matter of who they bring on, if things are going to remain strong or not. And, I feel like if that's where we're starting at, then
mhm.
we've got some stuff to live up to in the second episode.
Oh yeah. Who's excuse me, who's coming up next?
I have no idea.
What is it? What do they say? I think they said Sarah Silverman.
Maybe.
Hold on. Let me Wikipedia this. To the book of knowledge. If it will load.
And a decent bit with the Marvel movies where they had,
I
like,
loved that.
we can make anything we want to now, and they had Chris walking down dressed up as Princess Leia and all the other characters.
And
And then
I will say though that I was a little bit surprised that they didn't have the actress who played the wife and then the relationship expert in Weekend Update. They didn't have her in the featuring bit.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that too.
I don't know if it was just like so last minute that they didn't get her in in time.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sort of deal.
But yeah, so overall,
Oh, where? Yes.
a lot of 80 Brian stuff this episode, which was nice because we get a lot of Kate McKinnon, and some of the other ones have all get their moments to shine. But it's nice to see kind of transfer around and jump around everything. So I think she stepped into the role as being one of the leads very well. Are you still looking to see who's going to be on next week?
Yeah, because it didn't feature, it didn't show list of episodes that might do it. Wikipedia is just it confuses me sometimes.
I don't know why you're going to Wikipedia, man. Let's just move on.
Because I go to Wikipedia for anything. It's my book of knowledge.
And it seems to be working great for you.
Sarah Silverman. It's Sarah Silverman and Maroon 5, and then Bill Hader and Hoosiers the week after.
Okay, so what you're telling me is Sarah Silverman is going to be on next week, and I'm going to get to skip the musical guests. All right. Yeah. So Family Guy.
Well, that's usually how it is for me. Is I will skip the musical guests, regardless. Like I have, basically for me, what it is I will read comics in between for the commercials, and then musical guests I will read comics. But yeah, so Family Guy. And I did watch all the what used to be the animation domination stuff, but now I guess is just Fox's Sunday night lineup, which Brooklyn Nine-Nine was actually really good.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet. It's one that Erin and I actually do watch together, and she's been getting up really early, so I have to shift some shows to the following day or days later, like what happened to Big Brother last week.
But yeah, so but the Family Guy Simpsons crossover, which I thought they were going to do, like, I'm trying to think of the other example of shows where it's like, okay, we have like a true crossover event where, like the True Revival comic book, where it was like a flip issue deal.
Oh, right.
But no, it was Family Guy doing. It was all Family Guy doing it.
Yeah, it was a Family Guy pair of episodes with The Simpsons sort of guest starring and Family Guy traveling to Springfield, which felt like a lot of the Family Guy episodes where they get kicked out of town and they go on the run somewhere and they hide out, and have their little adventure on the road before they come back.
Honestly, I'm going to say this as someone who hasn't watched Family Guy really at all last year. I think I watched maybe a couple of episodes. Not enough to get me to watch all that often, like next week. Like I don't think I'll watch next week.
I gotta say, the episode, it was split up into two parts. I mean, because it's an hour show, so it was obviously two episodes tied together. And when I was watching the opening credits, there were people who were listed as the writer on the first episode and writer on the second episode and so on. Or there were things that said first episode only in the credits as it was going along. The first episode was much stronger. And it felt like it fell apart in the second half, and then it just went into regular Family Guy tropes. It felt like they tried hard at the beginning, and then they said, and then we're just going to have them do a big Peter chicken fight, except with Homer, because that's what Family Guy does. And that was the thing to really see from this, is that The Simpsons had their tropes and the things that were like Eat My Shorts and Don't Have a Cowman and Homer strangling Bart and all that stuff early on, but I don't know that they have the emphasis on those things as much as they went along, like what Family Guy still does. Family Guy still goes back to the same jokes over and over again. It's been a while since they've done Conway Twitty, but you're expecting they're going to do another Conway Twitty. The Peter fights the giant chicken, or they go into a scene where they just do a big musical number just to stretch things out. Those are all Family Guy things that just always seem to happen, and they've kind of worn down their welcome. And while The Simpsons isn't necessarily as funny as it used to be, it's not the must-see show that it used to be, like even 13 years ago, let alone 25 years ago.
I will put it to you this way.
Challenges itself more.
I will put it to you this way. Because I started with The Simpsons, watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, watched Family Guy. I will watch, and I was more interested in watching The Simpsons, and I will spoil it for you. The Simpsons was all about Krusty trying to earn his father's respect, which his father's last words was literally this. His father's at his desk going, and like Krusty did this roast, like a Comedy Central roast. Um, and I know we're a little bit off topic, but not really, because hey, it's the Simpsons. Simpsons were in another episode afterwards, and they were all lighting into Krusty, and he didn't like it, and um, so he's like feeling just ashamed of himself and all this stuff, and so he goes to his dad for some advice, and he asks his dad, "Do you think I'm funny?" And his dad goes, "Eh," and dies, and all this, and so he's going through, and Bart's sitting there helping him out throughout this whole thing, and so at the end of the episode, he goes to his dad. Him and Bart go to his dad's favorite synagogue, where um, I'm blanking on the rabbi is doing all of Krusty's jokes. Like it's literally like doing a message and doing Krusty's jokes, and it's his dad's favorite rabbi, and so he realizes the was not a bad it was a good but it was just like, because he's the stereotypical Jew sort of deal and all this stuff. I'm much more inclined to watch the next episode of The Simpsons than I am to watch the next episode of Family Guy from watching the two episodes, regardless of the length of the episodes.
Oh, I don't think it's the length at all either. I just think, like I said, the Family Guy has gotten to the point where it's done all its jokes pretty much to death. There was a time that the first time we saw Peter fight the chicken, it was amazing. It was like, where the hell did that come from? And then they did it again, and then they did it again, and then they did it again, and then they went back in time, and then they went all over space. And so to see them do that against Homer Simpson, I don't want to say that the Simpsons are firmly placed in reality, but they seem a little more grounded, except for the really weird episodes, usually the Treehouse of Horror episodes, than what Family Guy is. And
it seems feel like beneath the Simpsons to do it.
Yeah, it felt like the Simpsons were slumming to some of this. And I'm not saying I didn't laugh at times, but it seemed like the stuff that I thought was funny was in the first half of the episode, and it was when it was still trying to be reverent to what the Simpsons was. But then they took the Simpsons down to Family Guy's level, and that made it less enticing. That basically that hurt what the episode had been doing in the first place. But the first half of it was very much like, oh, we love the Simpsons and we want to pay tribute to them, and then it just became one big fight scene for about 10 minutes and some weird moments at the end with Meg and with Stewie and stuff, and it was just I can't say that it was a strong episode for something that we're going to see a billion times on Cartoon Network in the middle of the night. It's kind of like how their Star Wars episodes are. Their Star Wars episodes, the very first one that they did was really pretty good. It had a lot of funny stuff to it. And then it just got played out. And keeping in mind that there were all these Family Guy episodes in between that they were doing the same jokes and the same jokes and the same jokes, that by the time that they got to do the Jedi one, it's like we've already lost sight of having any kind of originality on this show. And so you can go through the motions as much as you want, but it's not exciting anymore. It's not even shocking. It's just sort of meh.
Yeah.
But not a good meh, but a meh.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know. I just hope that the Simpsons and Futurama crossover isn't as far along to where they can learn from this.
I don't think they have
because
to worry about learning from this because this was the Family Guy writers. And I think
yeah,
the Simpsons writers and the Futurama writers, they know what to do for their own thing. Now, again, I'm not saying I've been watching a lot of Simpsons stuff the last couple of years because when I tune in, I'm not getting a lot from it. But it seems like if they were that they're investing in what is their properties and they're going to take more value from it than what Family Guy, did to pay to them to have them
mhm,
in their episode. I will say it was kind of cool to have that moment where all the characters were sitting next to each other, like here's the Simpsons version of a character and here's the Family Guy version of a character, and them kind of like, oh, you're the mayor, I'm the mayor too. Do you do anything that's fun? And they go run off together. And Carl and Cleveland sitting next to each other, and like, why we're both here, right? Like, because we're the cool guys. Exactly. And to
yeah,
have the judge of the whole thing be Fred Flintstone, because that's the thing, is like everybody says the Family Guy's a rip-off of The Simpsons, but there is something to be said for The Simpsons owing a lot to the Flintstones, and the Flintstones, of course, go back to being a tribute to the Honeymooners, which is out around the same time. So it does show that originality, especially in cartoon series, you can't just be original. It's not going to happen. If that was the case, you'd have no new shows. So
yeah.
everything was a tribute to something else. But there was some highlights, but overall, it was a Family Guy episode that suffers from being a Family Guy episode.
No, yeah. Um, but so really quick before we wrap up, I wanted to hit on something that's airing over in the BBC right now, which means I have to VPN over to watch it. Um, and this is a drama called Our Girl. And this stars Lacey Turner as Molly Dawes. And this is and also Iwan Rayon, who you would know as he's in Game of Thrones as the guy who created Reek. Um,
Oh,
yeah, and then he was also in Misfits as Simon. But this is a really great drama. It's a wartime drama set in the modern day. Um, and it's really short, like 5 episodes are going to be airing. So far, I've only seen 2, but I guess 3 episodes will have been released now. And it's created by Tony Grounds, and it's been written by Tony Grounds as well. And I remember seeing a commercial for it, I think while I was watching Doctor Who or another TV show, and I think there was a one-off 2013 special that sees 18-year-old Molly join the army, and the wartime part it takes place in Afghanistan, but I guess they filmed it all in the UK, and I'm like, all right, it does not look like you're in the UK. So bravo for you guys, because the area you're in looks to me like you're in the UK, or like you're the in Afghanistan to me. So you are doing something right. Like, you have places in the UK that are Afghanistan. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but this is a great. Her character Molly is a medic that and the second episode, towards the end, I'm sitting here, I'm starting to cry because I feel for her, just because like she's getting attached to the locals, like to this local girl, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, no. And it's the show that I hope gets picked up um and airs over here on BBC America, because it's just so good, and each episode is only an hour long, and just it's really good. Like, I can't tell you just again how good it is, and And I hope it gets picked up for another season, to be honest, too, or another series, as they call it over there in the UK. But yeah, I mean, there's again, like I haven't been watching enough TV. I have to go and watch British TV as well, and be like, oh, hey, I want to watch this and this and this and this and.
Well, it's just the raspberry sorbet. It's the palate cleanser compared to all the useless American television. You communist bastard. So.
Yeah, but no, I mean, oh gosh, yeah. I will warn you though, and the viewers, when you watch the first episode, there is some graphic, scenes, there is some foul language, for you if you are of the types to not like the foul language or the graphic scenes.
But you got to remember, it's British people swearing, so it's charming just the same.
Yeah.
It's like Hugh Grant getting oral from a prostitute. It's like, yeah, but he's British.
but no, it's really good. So that's Our Girl. It airs Mondays on BBC One over there, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it will air on BBC America. And I will report on it first here on what we're watching, on What Else Is On. I feel like that
What
should
we're
be
watching weekly is obviously the BBC version of our show.
Yeah.
It is the Broadchurch to our, I forget what the US one is named now.
Grace Point.
Grace Point. Yeah, man, all of these things just sound, and then there's Torchwood, and then there's it's like sci-fi original shows.
But yeah, depending on what else there may be a movie that I will have watched by the next week or so, just as a tease. But yeah, so keep your ear out for that. So yeah, to find out more. To find out more about our goings on, and I don't know, remember the Bitly link for the Facebook group. To find out more about our goings on, follow us at EltsNerds on the Twitter. It's right there in my lower third.
You can easily get to our Facebook group. It's bit.ly/EltsNerds.
Yeah. And to see full archives of our show, past episodes, and our other show, the 616, you can visit our EltsNerds YouTube channel at eltsnerds.com.
You can also check us out on this past week's episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club at collectivenetcast.com. And it should also be releasing, it may have released already, onto Stitcher if you would just like to listen to the audio podcast, or on iTunes.
Yep. And we record What Else Is On every Monday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Western. And we will have the next episode of the 616 sometime in the future.
Yeah, some scheduling conflicts going on with me, possibly, maybe, don't know exactly. And then I should give fair warning. I am a glutton for punishment, and I may be attempting NaNoWriMo this coming November again. Now that I have a job and way less time in my hands, I figure I would try to write a 50,000-word novel again. I landed it the last time, but that was because I was happily unemployed. Now, not so much. So I don't know that it means I won't be showing up for podcasts, but I may have less TV under my belt to talk about. So I might be relying on some of our producers a little bit more on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
But so
that's when I truly ain't got time to TV.
So join us here next week. That just means we'll have the more quality episodes, or more quality shows to talk about. And I talk about some of the other shows and go, this is what you should watch, Corey.
Yeah, exactly.
But this has been a Don't Tell Glenn production.
Thanks, everybody.
We will see you next week.